At this point, before I put in my new board, I'm going to reroute my intake and solar actuators to the bottom of the board. I'm going to pull these out so that I can put them back in behind the board. Okay, so now what I can do is I can kind of just take this, because all I'm going to need up at the top is my 4-pin communication wire. I do not have a SPA side remote on this one, and my 10-pin connector. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull these up. I'm just going to place this in, bring in my wires to the front, and I'm just going to go ahead and just start a screw just to hold it in place. And there we go. Just a few threads on there just to hold it so it doesn't drop down. Okay, my 10-pin connector. I'm going to have to stretch a few little wires over. It moves over just a little bit. This pool has a SPA command which had been disconnected, and this is why we're replacing this today, is we thought maybe that the old board was bad because things were turning on, turning off on their own. We've now sensed that it's not the SPA side remote, it is actually the board itself was shorted out on this older board. So we're going to go ahead and plug this back into our 4-pin connector, color for color. So color for color, red to red, and just one at a time. They get a little tedious because you're working in a tight little area, but one thing I want to tell you too is I have not yet plugged in the power to this new board as I'm doing all this, running around with the wires. So that's the last thing that I'm going to do is re-plug back in that 24-volt connector at the back of the board. And we got one more after this yellow. He's being stubborn. Yeah, white's a common, which is a ground on the SPA side. So again, we've disturbed these connections, so we kind of want to go by them one by one, make sure we got no wires touching each other and going to cause us any kind of problem. And we got a little straggler right here. And get that little fray right out of there, and away we go. So I want to kind of just give them a light little tug, make sure they're all hooked in there. One of the things to look at too, guys, is on these wires, usually it's a solid wire. However, today on our SPA link, that's a stranded wire. So you really want to inspect these solid four color wires that are going to the indoor controller, because one of the things that may happen is that may be a broken, ready to break, or possibly already broken, and you've hooked it up, and then it's going to cause you some problems down the road. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and plug in our 4-pin connector. We're going to make sure that we don't have anybody touching. Does not matter which port you plug it into, either or, and that is done. I'm going to now go back to where we had our zippy tie on our suction wire. I'm going to take that and route it around through the bottom. I'm going to leave the zippy tie on there because if I ever come back to this job, I know that's kind of a trademark of my own. At this point, here's our intake port, our return port, cleaner port, solar port, and then 3 other ones for low voltage heaters. The next one we're going to do is we're going to reroute our return one that doesn't have anything on it and no identification, so we knew that was our return. And we're going to plug him in. Okay, next one is our solar. We bent it back. I'm going to go ahead and leave that like that and just pull my zippy tie off. That's pretty much how I do them. We're going to skip the cleaner, and this one gets plugged into solar.